Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the MrWarrenHayes Show. I'm Mr. Warren Hayes, and we're going to be talking about professional wrestling for a long time today, baby. We're going long because there's a lot of stuff to talk about on this December 13 edition of the show. Pro wrestling is where it's at. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I want to thank you very much for popping me into your eye holes and ear holes. Again, I said that the same thing last week, and your eyes aren't holes. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. If you're listening to this on YouTube right now, consider giving me a subscription if this is the first time you're here, and a like. Likes help the channel quite a bit. A subscription will make sure you won't miss anything on the MrWarrenHayes Show at all, including my AEW Dynamite reviews that come out every Thursday. So on top of this, you're going to get even more content, and that's just good. That's good times, and it's fun. And it's the same thing. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, you can follow me, subscribe to me there as well. And also, why don't you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or a 5-star rating on Spotify? It just helps out, helps everything grow. And it, if the channel grows, I get excited, and if I get excited, then it's better audio, and if it's better audio, you enjoy it and I enjoy it, and everyone we turn into a big circle of enjoyment, and that's all I want out of life. So there you go. And as a reminder, you can always join the MrWarrenHayes Show Discord. The link is in the description if you'd like to talk about pro wrestling and you like to hear about pro wrestling and other topics as well. Cool little community we have going there, and we'd love to have you. And there you go. I think that about covers it. Look, I'm sort of going through this pretty quickly because I did cover a lot of things tonight. There were a lot of subjects on the table, and I wanted to get through them. We're going to review Final Battle 2022. We're going to review NXT Deadline as well. Spoiler alert, 2 shows that I liked. So there you go. So yeah, if you're expecting me to go crap on stuff, not today. However, we're going to be talking about Vince McMahon being in the news again. More sexual assault allegations coming out against him. So there's something there. And we're also going to talk Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné heading to New Japan. Or is she? Maybe she is, probably. There's a lot of details, a lot of reports going around. So I try to make sense of it all. But I'm making a lot of sense. You're making a lot of sense being here right now. So let's get right to it. Thank you very much. Enjoy the show. Let's say something nice about Bill Goldberg.
MrWarrenHayes has 52 nice things to say about Goldberg.
It's Christmas all year long with Goldberg, what with all those jingle bells in his head.
MrWarrenHayes has 52 nice things to say about Goldberg.
It's not really a concussion joke. Not really. It's just, Anyway. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about this week. It's been busy. We've got Final Battle 2022 to review. We've also got NXT Deadline to review. Spoiler alert, I liked both shows. And hey, you know what? Before we go any deeper, let's just hit the weekly wrestling inspection. To lead in with some nice reviews, start talking about, some nice, some fun wrestling, because as many of you know, I don't like, I feel like there's a lot of podcasts, a lot of people, we talk about everything but the wrestling, right? So sometimes, it's like when I do the reviews, I like to talk about the wrestling. I think it's important. I think it's something that should be done. But before we do any of that, we have to talk about Vince McMahon, who has made headlines as of today. So, he threw all my run sheet went out the window when this happened, of course, right? Today, the Wall Street Journal reported that there were new sexual assault allegations levied against the former president and CEO, president and CEO of World Wrestling Entertainment. Here's from the article itself. Vince McMahon, the majority owner and former chief executive of World Wrestling Entertainment, Inc., is facing legal demands from two women who alleged that he sexually assaulted them, according to internal documents and people familiar with the legal negotiations. In a November 3rd demand letter to Mr. McMahon's representative, a lawyer for former wrestling referee Rita Chatterton asked for $11.75 million in damages after she publicly accused Mr. McMahon 3 decades ago of raping her in a limousine. Mr. McMahon has long denied the allegations. The demand letter was reviewed by the Wall Street Journal. In a separate November email to McMahon's attorney, a lawyer for a former spa manager said that Mr. McMahon assaulted his client in 2011, at a California resort, an incident previously unreported in the media. Now, for wrestling fans, I'm not saying necessarily for the general populace out there, but for wrestling fans, the Rita Chatterton story is not new news, right? This is a story that has been documented. It's been out there since the 90s, 1986. She was forced to perform oral sex on Vince McMahon in a limousine. And Chatterton right now is asking $11.75 million. Now, the spa manager thing, that is new. And at first, I thought this was a story we already knew about. But no, this is not the Tanzabar tanning salon allegations. Those happened in Florida. This is something completely different. And the manager in the articles, the Wall Street Journal article says that she reported it to the resort. Not quite sure exactly what happened from that point on, but she did report it to the resort. And she told her husband, who showed up at a WWE event in California with a baseball bat. And he was like, "Bring me Vince McMahon." She's asking for an undisclosed amount. Now, here we go again. Here we are once again, right? And I think this is the underscore. This is the underscoring theme here. This is a huge story, because these are maybe outside. I'm trying to say too many things at once. Rita Chatterton, lawyering herself up, getting ready to fight this, is a big step forward, and is something, if I'm not mistaken, is possible now because the statute of limitations is waived now in accordance to California law, and I think it's the same thing in New York as well. So this opens the door for these types of events to, get to maybe find new life, a new breath here. So there's a pattern of behavior here, right? This is the stuff that Vince McMahon for years made him feel like Teflon, right? Because nothing ever would stick. Because there was always insufficient evidence, because, it was never fully taken to court or whatever. But at this point, I don't understand how anyone can just sit around and go, well, there's no proof, or he didn't do anything wrong, when there is a pattern of these things. There's more than enough stories and accusations out there to create a picture very clear that Vince McMahon is a sex pest. And we know, historically speaking, these allegations are extremely difficult to prove for multiple reasons, for the way, evidence is handled, collected, and just how the system is built. It's not because there has never been proof. At this point, why are we even doubting that he's a creep? We know he NDA'd 7 women for $19.6 million. We know this. We know this. The Tanzabar story on top of that's been around for a while. He's admitted to Playboy in a magazine article in the early 2000s, 2002, 2001, that he's cheated on Linda. We've got, in the chat saying, they say where there's smoke, there's fire. I'll even add one on top of that as well, because you're correct, but let's add another one. Twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. What does it turn out when it's 9 times, when it's 10 times? What is that then? And imagine all the ones we don't know about. This is the thing. This is the thing that you can start easily fabricating in your mind. It's like, these are only the ones we know about. Because it is very likely, look, I cannot blame anyone to think that, there's probably others. It makes tons of sense to me at this point. No reason. There's no reason to, hang on, I'm trying to say too many things at once. It bears a certain amount of logic to sit there and say, well, he's probably done something at this point. Because all of these women are not necessarily interconnected. And this has been going on for decades. This can all be coincidental or some conspiracy. At some point, you have to be like, well, this is enough for me to understand, to know that this guy is a creep. He's bad news. And you see, Vince resigned from the company, and he didn't retire. Okay? He didn't retire. Because even in the earnings calls, they're talking about a resignation. Only Vince has ever used the word retirement. His own board, his executives, the executives of his company, they're talking about a resignation. He resigned. Why do you think he resigned? It's not because there was damning amounts of proof. Not because there was enough to lock him up and throw him away. There was enough of these allegations spread over 4 decades. Let us not forget. For their stockholders, WWE stockholders, to go, you know what? I'm not sure that this is a good place to put my money. And more importantly, it's safe to say that WWE's business partners didn't like all of this either. Fox News, USA, not Fox News, excuse me, just the Fox Network. The Fox News, they'll be on his side. I don't worry about that. No, but Fox Broadcasting, the USA Network, important business partners, and then sponsors, Progressive Auto, Mars, the candy bars, the Beyblades. This is he didn't skip out of the company because Triple H and Stephanie came up to him and says, pretty please, can we take over? No, there was pressure from business partners to get out. Like, this is safe to assume. We don't have proof, of course, but this is safe to assume. There's no way Vince would leave out of the goodness of his heart here. And then on top of the look, this is the thing. This is where it gets even wilder, because the article continued, right? in case you haven't heard. Let me read it out to you verbatim from the article from the Wall Street Journal. The 77-year-old Mr. McMahon also has told people that he intends to make a comeback at WWE, according to the people familiar with his comments. He has said that he has received bad advice from people close to him to step down, and that he now believes the allegations and investigations would have blown over had he stayed, these people said. Now, this is the Vince that I know. This is the Vince that I recognize, that I was convinced that he was going to die in gorilla position. This is the guy right here. That he should have stayed, the allegations would have blown over, the investigations would have blown over, and why would he have done any different? Because this is what he's done for 40 years. And we're just talking about the sexual allegations stuff. We're not even talking about Owen Hart. We're not even talking about the Ring Boys here. We're not even talking about the Jimmy Snuka cover-up. We're just talking about the sexual allegations stuff. And we're not even touching the steroid stuff either. The steroid scandal. We're not even touching it. He weathered through all of that. Why would he ever have decided to step away if not being pressured to do it? And we have some nugget of confirmation here where he himself is like, I got bad advice from people close to me. He had Stephanie, he had Nick Khan, he had Triple H coming up to him and saying, brother, all the sexual allegation stuff, that ain't gonna work for me, brother. You're gonna have to do something now. This is the thing. And now he's like, exactly what he did. Fuck him, right? I'm gonna come back. And this is wild. Because trust me, the biggest story coming out of this report is a new sexual assault allegation and Rita Chatterton finally lawyering up. Excuse me, getting a little tongue-tied. Because those are huge, tremendous deals. Because if any of these things go to court and go to discovery, holy shit, are we in for something special? But the other side note, and that maybe appeals a lot more to wrestling fans to a degree, like I still think everyone should be focusing on the fact that there's another sexual allegation put out there. I think that's crucial. But of course, as wrestling fans, we're like, Vince McMahon wants to come back? Is he insane? Or depending on where you fall on the spectrum, it's like, hooray. I don't know who'd want to do that. Like, I don't know who'd want to do that anymore. Like I said, I don't know who can support Vince McMahon moving forward. I don't know how anyone can sit here in a straight face and tell me, yeah, no chance, because that's what you got, and do the thing and cheer for him. I don't know how anyone can do this moving forward because there is too much of a pattern. There's too much plausibility here. Too many things happening over a sum of... Look, if all of this had happened within like a 3-month period, could question a little more, could be a little more, but this is over. This is 4 decades of behavior. But McMahon deciding, no, I want to come back. This is the Vince I know. This is the Vince that we know. That we, again, like I said, that we were all convinced that his dream was to die in the gorilla position. And it's clear that he's ready for a fight because he's still the largest shareholder of the company. Now, don't get your numbers wrong. Listen to me, because there's a lot of stuff being thrown around. He owns 50%. He doesn't own 50%. He owns 1/3 of the shares of the company, but he owns Class B shares, which are worth 10 times the votes as a Class A share. If I were to become a shareholder of WWE, I don't know why the fuck I'd want to do that, but let's play along. and I wanted to buy some of these shares, I would buy Class A shares. They give me 1 vote. Vince has a third of the shares. They're all Class B. So essentially, he has 80% of the voting power. So he is the majority stockholder. He is the majority owner of the company. So yes, he could push himself back into power. There's a they do their shareholder meetings in April. Vince could absolutely come in and replace the board. He could move anyone along. He could move people in and out and take control again. He absolutely could do that. And he'd be back. But you have to question, you have to wonder about these things. Right now, shareholders, they're happy with how things are going. Fightful's reported that. There's, people that they've talked to, they're all saying that nobody that they've spoken to wants him back. Nobody wants Vince back there. Apparently, it seems like it's a much better work climate than it was before. Go figure. And like I said, shareholders are happy. The stock price has been on the upswing. Been going up quite a bit since he left. We're back in 2019 territory. Although today, it took a 2.23% drop out of the announcement of the news. So, you tell me. I wouldn't be surprised if Vince is sitting at home and he's reading the paper, he's reading the trades or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if he's there and he's pissed that everything is going well without him. I mean, the ratings are what they are. There's nothing special. There's nothing to report. The Triple H era has not turned the tide on viewership. Raw is still a declining show. SmackDown is fine from what I gather, but Triple H hasn't turned the tide. Everything is pretty much in the same place it was business-wise. Stock price we talked about, but imagine him being at home. And I'm like, hey, everything's going, And he's like, well, these motherfuckers, I'll show them, They think they can do better without me. Like, he's nuts. We know Vince is nuts. We heard him talk, with Pat McAfee just a few months ago, talking about his daily routine. And people praising it, going, "Oh, wow!" No, it's not a routine to praise. This guy's nuts. This guy's insane. Working out till 2, 3 a.m., then back up at 6. No, come on now. And the thing that this tells me, and I've listened to Brandon Thurston over at WrestleNomics, who's always the guy you should turn to. Much before me, the host of the best D-list podcast out there with the A+ audience. You should always turn to Brandon Thurston at WrestleNomics for this kind of stuff. And he kind of had the same thought that I had, and I was like, yes, I'm on to something. Yes, I'm smarter than I look. Yes. He said, well, this is the thought that we had, that we hive-minded, I guess, is that by Vince coming in to say, I could move back anytime. I could come in anytime and take back over my company. Whatever talks we were having about selling the company and maybe going, maybe Nick Khan wants to unload it to Disney this year or Comcast or whoever. This throws a wrench into it, because if this report is to be believed, this is a clear indicator that Vince has no intent on selling the company, because again, he is the majority owner of the company. So he wouldn't be, if he was in a position or in a disposition, to sell the company, he wouldn't be threatening to come back and upheave everything, right? And all of this is happening on the cusp of their renegotiations for the licensing of Raw and SmackDown. All of this is like, we're about to enter renegotiations. And he's adding this fucking layer on top of it. If you don't think this is strategic just to piss some people off, the more this goes on, if I take off the Santa hat for a second and I put on a tinfoil hat, in previous episodes when we were talking about this summer, and I was talking about a power play that was done by Nick Khan, Steph, and at this point I'm trying to, Triple H, that there was some kind of power play. This is him deciding to pull his own power play to fuck with them. Because he doesn't give it. Look, let's just have a little fun with this. Speculatory. You could be sitting there and going like, Warren, there's no point for Vince doing this. Why would Vince want to do this? Right? Why would Vince do this and try to sink his company? Well, if he's hell-bent on wanting to be back in the driver's seat of his company, he's got to do what was done to him. He's got to put on pressure. He's got to put pressure on the business partners to let him back in, to be okay with him coming back in, and the stockholders as well. So if we go into renegotiation, again, I'm just spitballing here. We go back into renegotiations and WWE gets a raise. They're going to get a raise from whoever they end up being with, whether it be Fox, Comcast, USA, like whoever they work with. They're going to get a raise. And when they come around to that raise, but it's not quite the raise they were expecting, because Vince was, throwing sticks into the spokes of the wheel. Maybe the stockholders go, well, we're better off having Vince on the board because we're losing money right now. Maybe the business partners are like, look, all of this bullshit, Vince can appeal to the board and say, look, all of this bullshit that made our, that made our broadcast partners they got a little cold feet, that our advertising partners got a little unnerved at what was going on and didn't quite give us enough as much money as we had expected, or turned down some deals. This would all stop if I were back in charge. That's absolutely something I'd see. Absolutely something I'd see. But we're spitballing. Like, I don't think anything is happening by pure happenstance here. I don't think it's like Vince is just like one day decides to wake up and no, this guy did not make it to where he is today. He did not annihilate his business competition and threw wrestling into a void of sports entertainment for 2 decades without knowing exactly what he's doing. So I would not be surprised if he is not using these means of pressure back towards the execs, the board of directors, to try and muscle his way back in. But then, I would assume that the board of directors would not enjoy this, that they would not think that this is a good idea, because I would assume that the SEC, the regulatory commission, right? The feds, I would assume that they would get really interested in a disgraced CEO being kicked out of his company for unethical reasons, than him strong-arming his way back in as majority owner. I would assume that this would, you know, at the very least light a bulb at the SEC somewhere? And do you want to attract that attention? I don't think you do. I think this is going to have I think that this is the kind of move that will have impacts on business partners, broadcast partners. Again, I am convinced, 100% convinced, that he did not leave because Stephanie put her hands together and said, "Daddy, please." He got kicked out because the business partners were putting pressure on the board to get rid of him because the scandal was looking kind of icky. So if he comes back, that's going to have a toll. That doesn't come without consequence. Same thing with sponsors. Will they be able, like WWE for years has been trying to get, top tier sponsorships, as opposed to like the, 5 Hour Energy and that kind of bullshit. I'm pretty sure that a Progressive insurance is a high commodity advertising deal. But I think, on one end, if he comes back and he's back in creative, it doesn't change a goddamn thing. It doesn't change a thing. It doesn't. Yeah, I've been sitting here for the past few weeks saying, I've been watching the Triple H era and I don't see anything different. I don't see anything significantly different. And people pointed me to highlights of Raw last night, which I watched, and I was like, yeah, no. We're still in the same territory, the same environment. We haven't. If Triple H had done a complete, cleaving creatively, and I know I'm not just talking about angles, and I'm talking about how the shows are produced, how things are put together, and yes, how a storyline is defined. I'm convinced that if he had done that and Vince would come back, then we'd be like, oh shit, there's going to be a big change. But there's not going to be a big change creatively. Creatively speaking, we're treading the same types of waters. We've just decided to, no longer push certain people. We gave up on Ezekiel. Austin Theories dropped the selfie bullshit. Stuff that was clearly Vince. Shanky's no longer dancing his way onto television because that made Vince laugh. Vince had a nice little giggle to have a tall brown man look stupid for him. That's what he likes. So Shanky's not on TV anymore. Tonight we have the, as I'm recording this, there's the Vice documentary, The 9 Lives of Vince McMahon, that is being aired. Coincidence? I don't know, but they sure got the best piece of marketing with that Wall Street Journal report ever. So I'm going to try and catch that later. Maybe even talk about it next week. But I'm excited to see that. But look, clearly, this is a story that just a couple of days ago, a lot of us were, what happened? Whatever happened to? Don't hear anything. And then we get this bombshell. So this thing isn't done. And remember, and always keep in mind, there's a reason why these things are being leaked to the media. There's a reason. There's a plan behind these things being leaked to the media. And I don't think Vince is going to survive this. I don't think Vince is going to come back. He will be his own downfall. He could be the guy, like I can absolutely see him burying WWE out of spite because of everything that happened. I don't think he's going to do it, but I could see him do that. But I don't think there's any room for him on the on the board anymore. I think he's poison. I think he's poison for advertisers. I think he's poison to the broadcasting partners. Got John Cena, right? He was supposed to show up at SummerSlam this year. There were big rumors, but all of a sudden, when all the Vince McMahon stuff popped up, he was gone. Now he's supposed to come back at the end of the year, right? Around the 30th, something like that. What if this Vince stuff comes around? John Cena is Hollywood now. John Cena has no time to be hanging around questionable people and doing the show of a guy who has multiple sexual assault allegations levied against him. Multiple. That doesn't look good. Cena's career is no longer with WWE. He's doing his own thing. So, I wouldn't even be surprised that if this continues to push on and Vince gets involved, I wouldn't be surprised if Cena pulls out again. Because look, we never got any reports saying that that's what happened, but I thought the coincidence of all the Vince stuff showing up earlier this summer, and then suddenly John Cena, who was supposed to fight Austin Theory, right? You all remember this. Austin Theory was cutting promos on John Cena, who was never there. You're like, oh, we're building towards Cena. Then the Vince stuff happens. Suddenly no more talk about John Cena. Of course, John Cena is smarter than this. He's not going to touch this with a 10-foot pole. He knows what this means to his career in Hollywood moving forward. If he's proven to be like, no, I am okay with people who have multiple sexual assault allegations levied against them. I'm cool with that. It's very, very, very peculiar. And that happens. This continues to be a developing story. It keeps on giving. And don't fret yourselves. Don't kid yourselves. The Vince McMahon saga of 2022, Vince resigning from WWE in disgrace, is the biggest wrestling story of 2022. It's the biggest wrestling story of the decade. Of the past 10 years. There's not a story in wrestling that is bigger than this. We may all have our fantasies about what happened at All Out and CM Punk and the Bucks and Kenny Omega, but there is nothing that comes close. Nothing that comes close. And it just keeps on giving. It just keeps on giving. Last week, Pro Wrestling Insider found out that Sasha Banks was going to be at the Tokyo Dome for Wrestle Kingdom on January 4. Hey, Pluggo, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat, brother, Between Two Beards over on lovewrestling.ca. Good to see you, brother. So, of course, these are all reports, right? There's nothing. The companies have not confirmed anything. Dave Meltzer added that on top of that the winner of the Kairi versus Tam Nakano match at Wrestle Kingdom for the IWGP Women's title, right now, they're scheduled to defend that title on February 18 in San Jose. So, of course, like I said, no one has confirmed this so far, but there's a lot of news and speculation. Now, more and more people are adding their news to the mix, and it's starting to get to crystallize. If anything, we're starting to mush things together into something mushy. This is the level of my vocabulary right now. I think I need a sip here. So, on top, like I said, there more and more reports were coming out. Dave Meltzer again on Wrestling Observer Radio. Wrestling Observer? Not on the radio, on the Observer itself. Excuse me. No, excuse me. This was on the radio. Look, Meltzer said that WWE were talking to her about a return, and they were very far away apart on money. That was the last that I heard. Again, could AEW afford her? She wanted a lot. What she was asking for was a very high number for a WWE woman wrestler. But again, if you look at the amount of money WWE takes in, she still would have been underpaid. Good save there, Dave, because yes, I think that, in regards to the boatloads of cash that World Wrestling Entertainment drives in on an annual basis, most of their on-air talent is underpaid. But Voices of Wrestling went to their Japanese sources and got some extra details, and they've been pretty good with their wrestling news bits. So I have a bit of a tendency to lean into this one. So they had a report. I'm going to give you the bullet points here, and some of them are very interesting. I'm going to comment a few as we go along. So according to their sources, they were told that Stardom initially reached out to Sasha with Rossi, the head honcho of Stardom, leading the negotiations many months ago. And the source had noted, and this is something that hadn't previously been reported because everyone was saying, oh, she's still under contract, she's still on the roster. The source said she walked out of WWE at the time. Walked out in the sense that she was gone, or just referencing to actually physically walking out. Like the thing that she and Naomi did, dropping the titles, going like, see you later, instigator, I'm out of here kind of thing. Rossi lost interest in the negotiations when he learned what her asking price was, which was completely out of Stardom's means. However, Bushiroad, the parent company, gave him the green light to pursue negotiations a few months later. You want to know what that means in layman's terms? That means Rossi was like, oh, Sasha, you're asking for way too much. My little outfit can't afford you. I apologize. Let's talk another time. He reports this to his Bushiroad bosses, and they're like, no. We will pay for her. So you've got corporate, you've got the home office pushing out the dough to make sure they can secure Sasha Banks for their show. Now, currently, there is what has been described as a limited appearance deal on the table with a per appearance fee, that would be significantly higher than what New Japan paid for Chris Jericho, and would make Sasha Banks by far the highest paid Bushiroad contracted wrestler. Paid more per appearance than the Painmaker, Chris Jericho. And we're talking the Kenny Omega stuff. We're talking the Tetsuya Naito stuff. The IC title business. Oh, wait, there's more. There's a feeling that Bushiroad would have liked to have to lock her up for longer, but the impression is that Bushiroad can invest in her more than just a few dates. They have been unable to confirm that she has signed a deal, despite reports that she will appear at the Tokyo Dome on January 4th. So at this stage, what this means, and it's ultimately clear to me, but just to make sure all of us are on the same wavelength here, just to make sure we're clear, this is not a confirmation that anything has been done. She still hasn't put pen to paper yet. Voices of Wrestling have also been unable to confirm any interest in Naomi from the Bushiroad side as well. But they do want Sasha to bring in more attention to the IWGP World Women's title in the West. Really? Okay. I mean, that's clearly the strategy, right? Which is why I find it interesting. Which is why I find it really interesting that there's already a date in San Jose set for the title, as per reported by old Uncle Dave, in the U.S., which, and in California on top of that, which leads me to believe that There's a big time show on the way that they would like to get a huge gate for. And I would assume a lot of people would pay to see Kairi and Sasha, two highly recognizable names to wrestling fans in North America. Pretty sure they would like to see them wrestle. And if that happens, because all the reports seem to say that Sasha's going to show up at the Dome, right? Appear at the Dome. She's not going to wrestle. That's not the point. Everyone's talking about an appearance to probably set up this match in the US. New Japan's aspirations in North America are still very much there. They're leaning as much into it as they can. We're going to talk about it a little more in a second or two. But they clearly see the IWGP Women's title as a way to formalize the idea of women's wrestling on New Japan shows. Because despite the fact that that the title will be carried into Stardom, so on and so forth, it will also be defended on New Japan shows, and they want more and more people coming in. Now, we've said it multiple times here on the show, and anyone with half a brain will agree with this. There is Sasha Banks is. Let's assume she's a free agent, but she is the only. I know we don't know the full story, but let's just assume, for argument's sake, she's a free agent. She is the most game-changing free agent out there right now who is not CM Punk. She is absolutely someone who will change, who can instigate a significant change in anyone's business, anyone's wrestling promotion, should they be able to, lock her down to a degree, if you're okay with that expression. I mean, Dave said it himself. AEW is still on the table. It's still possible, and I think this is, I've talked about it before, and I stand by this. If I'm Tony Khan, I'm calling up Dad, and I'm I'm cracking open some trust funds, and I'm getting the money, whatever it takes, to hire Sasha Banks. I was saying this while CM Punk was there. Now CM Punk is gone. I think it is even more imperative that they do that. Because Sasha is a presence. Sasha comes with built-in fans, immediate attention, and she can wrestle on top of it all. This is not a Saraya situation where Saraya comes in and is a name, don't get me wrong, but has been out of it for so long. She's rusty on a few elements. She's, a little ring rust, a little rust on the promos. And so Sasha's on a completely other level playing field here. And this is a woman on top of that who absolutely loves pro wrestling. She is a wrestling nerd. This is something that a lot of people seem to forget, but she's into this stuff. She's taken a hiatus from the company before. She went to wrestle with Miko Satomura. She wants to wrestle in Mexico. She wants a tour of Japan. This is something on her bucket list. Working the Dome. There's no shocks here. This all makes sense. Sasha Banks loves wrestling. And she's left this is the second time that Sasha takes her ball and walks out. The second. Why would she go back? Why would she go back not on her terms? It's important. Because let's be completely realistic here. There is a high chance that she will return to World Wrestling Entertainment. And maybe all she needs to do is a year away from WWE where She travels Japan. She goes to Mexico. Whatever. She works for AEW. But then goes back to the Fed. On her terms. Undeniable. Saying, hey, I was a big star when I left. And you guys, excuse me, and you guys, you had your heads up your asses too far to see it. Now look, I'm back and I'm undeniable. Then on top of that, I'm releasing music. I'm in movies. I'm doing Star Wars shit. I'm not sitting here and saying Sasha should never go back. Au contraire, Sasha should go back and milk the bastards for all they're worth. Get all the money. And if she feels that she wants a year off to hit her wrestling dreams, to do the shit that she wants to do, so that we can talk about Sasha Banks like we talk about Aja Kong, like we talk about Minami Toyota, like in years from now. It's like, this woman, she went all over the place, she tore it down. Makes for a compelling legacy story, I'll tell you what. Again, there's no proof in the pudding here that she's going. But there's more and more reporting coming out that she's damn close, at the very least. She's damn close. And if I'm watching Wrestle Kingdom on January 4th, which I probably will be, and will be watching it live, and I see her come out, I'm out of my seat. I go nuts. It's going to be fantastic. Because maybe all she wants is the liberty. Maybe all she wants is the liberty, the creativity to be able to do what she feels like doing. Maybe that's all. And I'm okay with that. Today, Meltzer he added some stuff from Wrestling Observer Radio. This time I got it right. And he stated that Jericho was making $100,000 per shot for his New Japan appearances, starting with his match with Kenny Omega at Wrestle Kingdom 12 in 2018. Meltzer indicated that the value for Jericho was quite good at $100,000 per appearance, noting all the revenue Jericho drove for the company during his recent run. Additionally, Jericho's $100,000 per appearance price is the reason New Japan stopped bringing him over. And Mercedes, as you may recall, is asking more than what Jericho was getting. Good for her. Good for her. So, developing story, exciting shit. I'll tell you what, I'm excited to see how this goes. But I think what makes me, this is the one thing that makes me the most excited out of it all. This is the one thing that makes me most excited out of it all. And hopefully, well, actually, I know most of you guys, gals, and non-binary pals listening, watching right now, I know you understand this because you're an above average audience. We are in the best possible period for on-air talent to be able to negotiate and go to work wherever the hell they want. Isn't this beautiful? William Regal just recently, and now Sasha Banks. And again, this cannot happen if we are not in a position of competition where there are two major North American promotions, and then even look at that, major promotions overseas that are making gobs of money as well. All of these situations are good for the talent. This is what anyone with half a brain, such as myself, have been saying since the onset of AEW. This competition is going to be priceless for talent. Anything else is just corporate stoogery. It's dick-riding billionaires anything else, anyone who falls on any side and saying, no, I want WWE to go bankrupt, I want AEW to go back, that's bullshit. Because the people who are putting on the shows that are making you tune in to watch every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday are the people who should be getting the best deal out of all this bullshit, especially in an environment where no one is unionized. So this is exciting. This is the kind of stuff that I was hoping was going to happen with AEW. And I think we're seeing the true fruits of this happen. It's happened earlier last year, earlier this year, when Miro and Malachi Black jumped ship, and Tony Storm and Ruby Soho, where you're all like, finally these people are free. Like, it always bears to remind people that this kind of stuff for talent is great. Competition is great for them because they can leverage both sides. They can get the best deal for themselves. They can work in environments where they feel creatively, athletically fulfilled, as opposed to being pigeonholed into one man's vision, one place. And we don't have any more room for you on TV, so you're going to sit in catering for 6 fucking months without even getting a chance to put yourself over. And now we're seeing it on extremely high levels, like a superstar, like Sasha Banks. And I mean a superstar in the legitimate term, the legitimate, like, Oxford Dictionary sense, not the WWE sense. Exciting times we're in. Exciting times. Let's talk about Final Battle. Ring of Honor was a show that happened this weekend. Was a show that happened just a couple of days ago. Final Battle 2022, the Ring of Honor show. Cool beans. I enjoyed the show, but before we talk about the show, we have to talk about the big news, the big business news coming out of Ring of Honor stuff here. Being that Ring of Honor's weekly wrestling show will air on the newly revamped Honor Club. William Davis, member of the MrWarrenHayes Show channel, nice to see you. Welcome. Let me read the article off of the Wrestling Observer Figure 4 online website. Ring of Honor head Tony Khan revealed the news at the post-Final Battle press conference Saturday. Khan didn't provide any plans or a start date for when that weekly TV would begin, but expects news to start coming out after New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom in early January. The reason for that is that Khan expects New Japan to be involved heavily in the project, and he has been talking to them about it. Khan said he wants to take advantage of the development work that former owner Sinclair Broadcasting funded on the technology behind Honor Club that his team finished off. The service, now available for $9.99 a month, has their complete archive available now with future pay-per-views, including Final Battle, moving to the service 90 days after they happen. Khan said he is going to keep his existing relationship with Warner Brothers Discovery and Bleacher Report to keep airing pay-per-views based on the success so far with them. What are the details? We got a few details because there was a press release. That came out. Well, I mean, we pretty much nailed all the principal details, right? $9.99 a month for a weekly show starting in January at some point. 2,500 hours of back catalog, pay-per-views, 90 days. Apparently some New Japan content in some shape or form. This is a big L for Tony Khan, and there is no way to spin this as a positive for the company. This is the worst possible, the dirt worst possible outcome was no TV at all, right? Nothing. But this is the worst outcome that that Tony Khan was absolutely gunning for. No way he wanted this to end up on a DTC, direct-to-consumer service, where he's footing the bill for most of it. Tony Khan wanted a broadcast partner to pick up the rights, give him money to put on the show, and then put it on television. And he'll spin this because it's good PR, because you're not going to sit at your press conference and do one of these and go, yeah, I mean, this is a last resort. I tried really hard to get on a network, TNT, TBS, Discovery Plus, Discovery Investigation, the History Channel, like whatever. You know, like there was no way he was going to sit there and say, no, this stinks. Of course he has to stay upbeat about this. He has to make sure that everything's okay. But this is bad news. And there's no way to make this sound better than it is. This stinks. And you know what we should have known? We should have fucking known. Look here, two things. First of all, I kind of called it in the Discord. It's like, well, you know, Ian Riccaboni recently was on Twitter and he was talking about, the soon to be revamped brand new Honor Club, right? And I'm like, you want to bet? I called it on the Discord. Again, I'm the best goddamn D-list podcaster with the A+ audience you'll ever listen to. You gotta trust Warren sometimes. But, you know, okay, so, you know, you have to think about, you have to look at this as a negative, because how many subscribers will this be for Ring of Honor ultimately? How many subscribers will it take for this to make money for Tony Khan, who is doing everything? He's, like I said, he's footing the bill for the whole thing, right? WWE at the peak of the WWE network could not crack 2 million subscribers for the life of them. They couldn't. Their growth stunted. Couldn't do it. So what chance does Ring of Honor Club have to even come close? Like, you make $1 million, Honor Club will make $1 million in a year if they have 100,000 subscribers at $10 a month. Then you're clocking in 1 million wing wangs. But you're not going to make 100,000 subscribers in a year. New Japan reported in 2021 that New Japan World had 116,000 subscribers worldwide. Not in, Osaka Prefecture, very localized. No, in the world. This means that Tony Khan was shopping around for 9 months for the time it took to make a human life. Tony Khan was shopping around, trying to get someone to buy the rights for his new wrestling program and couldn't. I think Tony Khan was confident that with the excitement around live sports programming right now, and it is, and the ad rates are through the roof, and this is, it's something that is extremely coveted by distributors, by networks. I think the high price for live sports right now made him figure that he could continue to cash in along with AEW, cash in with Ring of Honor, get another slice of the pie, not make his slice bigger, just get a completely other slice. Clearly couldn't. And the fact that he couldn't land the deal says two things. In my opinion, we're just spitballing here. One, which is easier to observe than the other, I believe. I think the easiest one to observe, to speculate, is that this might show that there's some saturation in the television broadcast sphere, that there's some saturation in regards to television wrestling. Maybe we've hit a ceiling here for the US market. Where they're like, look, we've got the market leader over on here. You've got you guys with AEW who are doing a great job and they're, showing some growth, blah, blah, blah. But then again, your Friday night show's not doing great. And I wonder how a little bit. Your Friday night show's not doing great. Like maybe we're at a level where, maybe there's no more room on TV for this. And I think that is a fair observation to make. The second reason that maybe explains why he wasn't able to land the deal, maybe Tony Khan isn't as strong at the negotiating table as he thought he was. But that's now I'm just spitballing at this point. Now we don't know. Now it's just maybe look, has the fact that and I was listening to Brandon Thurston and Jesse Collins talk about this on WrestleNomics this week. Again, you got to listen to Brandon because it makes a lot of sense and sort of ties in with what I'm thinking here. How much damage has Rampage done to AEW's potential to renegotiate its raise, right? I think it is safe to say that AEW is going to get a raise however they end up renegotiating. It's not going to be the same amount. The question that we're all wondering and thinking about is how big of a deal it's going to be. How much money are they going to get? It's not, will they get another deal? Yes, they will. Will they get more money? Yes, they will. But how much more? And I'm wondering, with Rampage slipping the way it has, clearly becoming a B show, a secondary concern, has that taken away some leverage? Because if TK's like, look, I created AEW and then look, we did Dynamite and it worked so well. We opened up Rampage and now I can open up my other promotion here. And I'm a wrestling promoter wizard kind of thing. A network executive can be like, sure, but your Rampage show is in the dirt right now as far as ratings go. It's not very good, and we don't see as much effort being put into making a quality show. I think that's a plausible perception to have. I mean, well, maybe they just maybe that's tarnishing his ability to push forward and say, yes, look, trust me, guys, kind of thing. Maybe. But look, the biggest hurdle that Ring of Honor has right now is getting people to subscribe to the service. That it's just as simple as that. Now, I think there might be success here from a purely production aspect because if Tony Khan were to adopt like an old-time NXT style for or an old NXT taping schedule, right? Taping a month's worth of shows in one day, or one night, whatever. I think it might be a good way to approach it, right? And I think we all have fond memories of the Full Sail days of NXT. Storylines were concise because they were putting out a month's worth of storylines condensed into one evening. So it was kind of hard to start swerving right and left when everything was in the can for a month, right? So everything felt very good. I know we all have fond memories of Full Sail NXT. So if we went down that path, if Daly's Place becomes the home of NXT, of Ring of Honor, right? Which is plausible. You know, we know the relationships that exist there, so that's fine. What if Daly's Place becomes that, and Ring of Honor cans their shows for 4 weeks? Boom, boom, boom. You could end up having a very tight, well put together, well produced hour of programming. You could. You're reducing costs, so on and so forth. Lots of overhead that you don't have to carry because you're not having people going back and forth. And, you know, I think that would work. But I think the biggest challenge that he has in that regard is to not make it come across as it being, you know, the developmental territory. It has to still come off strong. You know, clearly taking the title off of Chris Jericho was probably a symptom of the fact that there would be no TV, and Jericho's like, nah, I ain't wrestling behind a subscription service. You're putting me on TV, right? And, you know, probably, look, I'm saying this, Jericho said that, but probably Tony Khan has the same, you know, Tony Khan's he's not a dummy. Like, no, I'm not putting one of my biggest stars, you know, for sale only on $9.99 a month. Like that doesn't make sense either, you know? When you're in a ratings quandary where you want to be able to get a big rights renewal, right? Anyway. But that's the thing. And then he said also in the press conference that they were going to scale back the Ring of Honor presence on AEW television, but as long as it's on Honor Club, I think we're still getting builds. I don't think we're done seeing Ring of Honor on I don't think we're done seeing Ring of Honor on AEW television by any stretch of the imagination, because how is he going to build his pay-per-views? On Honor Club only? Sure. But how does he break out of his subscriber base? How does he get people into the shows, right? I think there's still going to be builds for pay-per-views, for Ring of Honor pay-per-views on AEW shows. You know, so I apologize in advance to all you lovely people who were getting bent over backwards because it was so hard to watch Ring of Honor stuff on it was so tough to watch Ring of Honor belts and matches on Dynamite. You know, it was ruining your experience. Well, I still think that's going to happen. For good or ill. Consider something in it. One last thing on the, you know, before we actually talk about Final, I haven't talked about any of the wrestling shows yet. One last thing before we move on. There was no word on early buys from Tony Khan at the press conference, which he likes to do, usually, right? He typically likes to early buy rate today was, 30,000, whatever, 130,000. You know, he likes to do that, but he didn't do it at the press conference for Final Battle, which leads me to believe that it didn't sell well. And why would it have done well? The show was cold as ice. End up having a really fun wrestling show, but the build, the idea of, should I watch this? Cold show. No build or close to no build. matches that people maybe didn't necessarily care to see, because as I talked about on my preview last week, there was nothing on that show. And at that point, when I was doing my show, keep in mind, FTR and the Briscoes had not been announced. I was like, there was nothing on this show that does not scream great episode of Dynamite. Like, that was a great episode of Dynamite, but that I was paying $40 for. You know? But then FTR and the Briscoes get announced, and then information starts to circulate. Apparently, 30% of the tickets that were sold, there were 30% of the total tickets that were sold that happened after the announcement of FTR Briscoes. So it makes you wonder if they had given this, a week or two more. Would it have drummed up more business live? And clearly didn't drum up enough buys for Tony Khan to sit there and go confidently and slap the table and be like, this fucking rules. Because he would have hammered that home. Hell, he probably would have even got Riccaboni to say it multiple times on air. Tell him this is the second biggest final battle of all time kind of thing. So we'll probably get some news in a week, few days. But I am very, very curious. Very curious to see how well this show did. And this is the show, Final Battle 2022. Jermaine Presley, nice to see you, and welcome to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Final Battle 2022, December 10, Arlington, Texas, the Park Center. Opened up with the 0 hour pre-show. Jeff Cobb showing up. Not in Japan right now. He had exited World Tag League before World Tag League started for personal reasons. Hope everything is, clearly everything is back on schedule, but he defeated actually Mascara Dorada, the former Grand Metalik, in a fun little opener. Short, sweet, like a 7-minute thing where Dorada gets a lot of lucha stuff in, but Jeff Cobb catches him into a suplex position, drills him against the post, then gourd busters him on the apron. Just great stuff. Running Hurricane Rana and Topican Tornillo by Dorada, and a beautiful springboard senton as well. Spin cycle and standing moonsault by Cobb. Deadlift suplex is avoided and reversed into a springboard bulldog by Dorada. But a pop-up tour of the islands by Jeff Cobb gets the win for the Hawaiian man. Like a fun opener, the strong guy against the smaller fast dude, and worked perfectly. Good chemistry, good opener. Angelo Parker and Matt Menard took on the Shinobi Shadow Squad. At least Eli Isom and Cheeseburger. That was all right. Fun little bit of comedy with the handshakes to start with Angelo Parker. 2.0 getting control with running knee backbreaker combos. Heat segment by the Jericho Appreciation Society guys. Isom gets the hot tag. He and Cheeseburger double team until 2.0 hit the double DDT for the win. It's fine. Fun little prelim match. Willow Nightingale defeated Trish Adora. I like this match. Head scissors to start. Hip attacks by Willow Nightingale and the Northern Lights suplex by Trish Adora. Machine gun chops by Nightingale and a shotgun missile dropkick on top of that. Trish Adora gets Nightingale into an air raid crash neck breaker, which ruled, and transitions into a German suplex, which ruled. But Willow Nightingale lands the pounce. The straps are down, hits the Doctor Bomb, and wins. This is a lot of fun. I like that. I enjoyed it a great deal. And again, I can't stress this enough. There's no one on this roster, in the women's roster on AEW, that wrestles like Willow. Willow is completely in a different department because of her. And you know what? She uses her size as a babyface advantage, as opposed, because it would be very easy to just fall into the trope with that she's bigger than the others and stronger, more buff, more put together. She needs to beat up people. Let's make her a heel. It'd be really easy. But that ain't it. That's not what they're doing with our girl Willow, and that's good because her natural babyface instincts are just fantastic. Top Flight defeated the Kingdom. I enjoyed this quite a bit. It's a great way to close off the pre-show. The Kingdom are in control. Top Flight gets some great double teams in, though. Darius gets the hot tag on both members of the Kingdom until Matt Taven hits a purple thunder bomb. Spinebuster moonsault combo by the Kingdom as well. Catapult Enziguri coup de grace combo by the Kingdom. Doing some great double team work here. Great hot tag to Dante, and a beautiful standing moonsault follows off the chest swinging DDT by Darius. Everyone dives to the floor. Maria Kanellis tries to get involved. She gets expelled. And Top Flight win with the electric chair moonsault cutter. That's what you want to call it. And you should. At Ruled. Really fun. Great pace. And you know what? I really hope Darius Carter stays healthy. Because you know what? I was looking at this and it seems to me, it feels like it had been a long time since I'd really watched a Top Flight match. And Darius is so much the charisma of this team. Like he is unquestionably the charisma of that duo. Ridiculous stuff. Ridiculous. He's so good. Both of them are, but Darius truly has superstar written all over him. And we move on to the main show where AR Fox and Blake Christian defeated La Facción Ingobernable, composed of Rush and Dralistico, who was making his Ring of Honor New Era debut. And a good athletic start between Blake Christian and Dralistico. AR Fox and Rush slug it out. It gets ugly on the floor quite a bit. And Blake Christian is your baby face in peril for this match. T-bone suplex by Blake Christian gets the hot tag to AR Fox, who hits a springboard missile drop kick and triple dives onto the floor. Just some great athletic stuff. Senton Atomico on top of that. Springboard shooting star press by Dralistico. I keep getting tongue-tied. Should I put on the Spanish accent or should I just go Dralistico? What's less pretentious? I guess is the question I should be asking. Blake Christian does a late save on a fall, which kind of bummed me out. You know, that the spot that we've seen so much now where, you know, a guy's in a pinning predicament and the referee's counting and the guy comes in off the top rope to break it up. And I'm systematically telling myself, this is the most convoluted way to break up a pin. Like, just come in and push the guy off. You know, this is one of these things where I wonder, you know, where's the psychology in, hey, you know what? I'm going to climb to the top rope and maybe risk my partner getting a 1, 2, 3 if I slip, if I don't land the move perfectly. Like, why not just run in and push the guy off? And that's what happened here. You know, the ref, you know, Dralistico had covered AR Fox, and I counted 1, 2, and was bringing his arm down for 3, but Blake Christian but he knew this wasn't the spot, and Blake Christian was still up on the top rope. So there was like it was an absolute 3 count before Blake Christian could land. So I was like, and we'll talk about, ref counts in a second here. We get a 450 splash by AR Fox as well. He covers Doristico and wins. And, because look, the ending was built really, really hot. I was really into it. It was really good. Then Fox covers. Doristico kicks out, but the referee counts to 3. Nonetheless, Doristico does do the I kicked out, movement, but the ref still counted 3. So there's something that happened here. And I'm not sure what it was. Everyone agrees this ending was weird. There's something that happened in this conclusion here that was a little weird. But you get the 2 theories, of course, is the referee was calling it as a shoot, as a ref should, or Doristico fucked up the ending. So the only problem that I have with the ref calling it a shoot theory is due to that Blake Christian breakup pin spot, where if the referee had been calling it at a shoot at that moment, he would have absolutely counted to 3, because Blake Christian never made it before 3 off the top rope to the floor. He never made it. So I'm not sure the referee was calling it as a shoot here. I kind of have the impression that Doristico fucked it up, but there was clearly a level of confusion nonetheless. So maybe this wasn't exactly the planned finish. Maybe the referee screwed up, but I don't think he was calling it as a shoot. I think he might have just screwed up the ending, which led to La Faction beating the shit out of AR Fox and Blake Christian. And I don't know if this was planned or not. If it wasn't planned and Roosh was like, okay, let's just beat the shit out of these guys to try and get our heat back because we were supposed to win, that worked for me. I think that's fine. If it was planned, that was fine, because I liked the post-match angle. It was a good post-match beatdown, and I liked it regardless of the finish. Good match, though. I liked it. Fun little match. Athena defeated Mercedes Martinez to become the new Ring of Honor Women's World Champion. This was a good physical fight. The crowd is behind Athena on this one, and why wouldn't you? She lands the forearm, and that is now a part of her arsenal. That one forearm that shook the world, that brought the wrestling world to its knees. It's like, oh no, why is she so violent? Starts unloading on Mercedes Martinez. Mercedes hits a spine buster and an STF. Running powerbomb by Athena. Martinez wallops Athena and hits a half and half and a T-bone suplex and a brain buster on top of that. Athena slams Mercedes on the apron. Hanging DDT by Mercedes Martinez on the floor. She locks in the Brass City Sleeper in the ring, but Athena gets out of it with a bite. Athena does that Stormbreaker Gutbuster move. I'm not quite sure she has a name for it, but it lands, covers, but Mercedes reaches the ropes to break up the pin. Athena removes the top turnbuckle. Athena shotgun drop kicks Mercedes Martinez into it and lands the Eclipse, or whatever it is she's calling it now, for the win and becoming the new champion. I really like this. This is what I've been, this is the things, like another proof that the women that Tony Khan has under his employ are all super fucking talented, but some more than others. And these are the women that you need to be pushing on television more and giving them time to grow and time to breathe. And the Athena build was spectacularly good. Just your basic heel turn story. But Athena did it so well, and she leaned into it so well that it became convincing and awesome and great. To the point that, well, people were cheering for her in Texas. That's just how it goes. And this is the thing I wish that a lot of my peers would recognize, is that AEW fans, Ring of Honor / they are much more in tune with a wrestler's work rate. You can get over an AEW based solely on your work rate without having a larger than life persona, without having stories or an angle. What's your character? Are you a serial killer? Are you a swamp wizard? Are you a person who was previously entranced by a swamp wizard and now is having flashbacks of said swamp wizard? Don't need any of that. The work will get you over. Athena is over because of the work she's putting in. And this was a strong showing. This was a championship match that felt like a championship match. Good match. I enjoyed it. Strong stuff. Now, if we are to take a second here to do a little post-mortem. I don't know why I was struggling that hard with the word. But if we wanted to take a look at a post-mortem of Mercedes Martinez's reign as champion, 220 days. Even had won it on April 5th, 2022. And lost it at Final Battle. Had a few defenses. Of course, won it off of Deonna Purrazzo, which was a big deal in and about itself. But had a significant defense against Serena Deeb at Death Before Dishonor, which I thought was a very good match. But not necessarily a prestigious roll call of defenses. She did have a few. 7 defenses. Well, 6 defenses. No, actually, 6 defenses total. Excuse me. Which is, not going to lie, a bit of a shame, because I think that Mercedes is one of these on-air talents that could get over with her work if there were more time allocated for women on AEW. She'd get over in a heartbeat, because she's an incredibly talented worker. She's one of the best workers in the women's division. It's not even arguable. She's got the experience. She's a general. She can work people through anything. This is the kind of woman that you want Jade Cargill to have matches against. Not against, Sky Blue, God bless her. Sky Blue is learning the ropes just as much as Jade Cargill is. So these are the types of women that Tony Khan should be featuring more, putting them in big time situations. As excited as I was because I'm a huge Mercedes Martinez fan, and as excited I was for her to be on the roster, to be in AEW, to finally get a shot after being completely misused in WWE, like completely dropped the ball. I really, really wished that we would have got a little something here, a little more gas out of this one. Anyway, she's not gone from the company. She's still around. Maybe there are other plans. But you have to wonder, You have to wonder with all this Honor Club's stuff being, with all the Ring of Honor being its own thing now, having its own television, and are we going to have separate rosters? And if we're going to have separate rosters, what is the women's roster of Ring of Honor going to look like? What's that going to look like moving forward? Because I don't know. If we pattern it off what's happening in AEW, that is not going to be great. Swerve in Our Glory defeated Shane Taylor Promotions, the team of Shane Taylor and JD Griffey. This was quite good. I thought this was a good, strong match with Griffey taking it to Swerve to begin with some MMA. He's got the whole MMA look down, right? Griffey tags out, I should say, to Shane Taylor, and the crowd comes alive at the idea of a confrontation between Keith Lee and Taylor, but Swerve tags himself in to great distaste from the audience. Shane Taylor lays out Swerve, leg drops Swerve on the apron, and then finally Shane Taylor and Keith Lee slug it out. Keith Lee catches Shane Taylor flying off the second turnbuckle, and I popped out of my seat. Shane Taylor is not a small man. We know Keith Lee is a big, strong gentleman. That was still impressive. Impressive as hell. Griffey avoids the Swerve in Our Glory. He dives. Keith Lee catches him as well. Swerve lands a kick to the back of Griffey's neck. Rope hung stunner by Shane Taylor, which was really cool. Leg trap backbreaker by Swerve and a fisherman's face buster by Griffey. A submission attempt by Griffey is broken up by a Keith Lee moonsault. Both teams slug it out. Keith Lee accidentally knocks out Swerve. Welcome to the Land by Shane Taylor hits on Keith Lee, but Lee kicks out of it. Swerve walks out. It's like, no, you accident. No, I'm out of here. He didn't like being punched in the mouth. He walks out. The heels try to double team Keith Lee, but he eventually fights them off, lands the Big Bang Catastrophe for the win. All by himself as Swerve Strickland hit the showers. So I like this match. I thought it was I thought it was very good. But I'm going to, this has got to be the breaking point. This has got to be a breaking point for Swerve and Keith Lee. Okay. They're both even. They both walked out of each other on a match because one guy slapped the other guy. Keith Lee did it at Full Gear. Now Swerve did it to Keith Lee. Now they're even. We have to have a proper story bump now. If they come back and everything is hunky-dory, or they come back again and they get in front of the camera and they do one of these again, it's like, let's go talk in private, I can't do this anymore. I'm already spent on this story because I don't think it makes sense. I don't think the story right now is good. I think it's obvious now with 2020 that they kind of retconned what happened at Full Gear so that we could get the Shane Taylor Productions match at Ring of Honor. So they were like, okay, well, we'll stretch this out a little more so that we could do this at Final Battle. And now we end up with this, and I don't like it. Now, if they want to keep stretching this tension that they have out, they can. But it has to be something that happens, action that happens on camera that will make me believe that these guys can still be friends. Because as it stands right now, there's no reason for that. Logically speaking, even in wrestling angle terms, there's no reason for these guys to still be friends anymore. There's no reason for these guys to still be a tag team. But give me a reason. Make something happen. Okay? Make something happen. Maybe there's still more legs here, but this has not been great storytelling. It really hasn't. The Embassy are your new Ring of Honor World Six-Man Tag Team Champions. They defeated Dalton Castle and the boys. That was fine. I think, you know what? I think this show was perfectly paced. I think the matches were put in the spots that needed to be put. I thought we had a good opener, built to a great second match. Then we had Swerve in Our Glory and Shane Taylor Productions, which was I thought best match on the card so far. Got the crowd into it. Let's bring it down a little. This was not the match to send that was going to be the work rate special that was going to send the crowd into a tizzy. No, we had another match for that. This one was pure entertainment. It was, the boys getting tossed around like rag dolls by big, huge dudes. Dalton Castle doing all of his entertaining, charismatic stuff, running around on the floor. Give me a boy, give me a boy. Like that shit, like that's great. And that's why you love Dalton Castle. That's the stuff you want to see. Leona and Brian Cage, they catch diving boys, lift them into suplexes, dump them on the floor, which was great. Leona, I don't know why I keep saying Leona. There's a running senton off the apron as well. Deadlift superplex by Brian Cage as well. Dalton Castle gets the hot tag, cleans house, huge German on Leona. And there was that one spot where Toa Leona is doing a double Samoan drop, but one of the boys can't quite get up, and it was like, man, just never mind, just don't do it. Kick him in the nuts, and then dump the other guy or something. Like, at this point it was like, oop, I shouldn't be watching this. You know when you're watching something happening in wrestling and you kind of feel cringe a bit. Brian Cage lands the drill claw on one of the boys. Nana creates a distraction which allows Dalton Castle to be taken out, and the Embassy hit their finisher for the win. It's all right. It was fine. Then we had the Ring of Honor Pure title match where Wheeler Yuta successfully defeated Daniel Garcia to become the new Pure champion. I like this match tons. If it wasn't for that other match, this would have been my match of the night. This is very good. They slug it out, and commentary puts it over. They slug it out because they hate each other, because they don't like each other. The Pure title is supposed to be about, wrestling technique and all that, but no, like these two guys, they just hate each other. So they're going after each other. So I'm into it. I buy into it. They each hit closed fists on each other. So they both get a warning straight off the bat, right? Pure rules. Daniel Garcia suplexes Wheeler Yuta to the floor, exposes a turnbuckle hook, and presses Yuta's face against it. Then Yuta gets out of there and does the same to Garcia. Garcia forces Yuta to use a rope break. And then Garcia does a surfboard in the ropes to force another rope break. So Garcia, I should say, uses strategy to force Yuta into giving up his rope breaks. I thought this made sense. Great strategy. Daniel Garcia is supposed to be this little, this wrestling prodigy. He's wrestling like one. He gets it. So Yuta is 2 rope breaks down. Garcia stomps him from a surfboard setup, which is great. He gets Yuta into a dragon sleeper, forces Yuta to use his last rope break. Wheeler Yuta is in trouble. Garcia still has all 3 of his rope breaks. And we're 8 minutes in here. Wheeler Yuta tries to fight back, but Daniel Garcia has an answer for everything. He's prepared. He's good to go. Sharpshooter by Garcia. He leans back, which allows Wheeler Yuta to get him into a crossface. So Garcia just lets everything go. Open hand strikes, drop kicks, a brain buster by Yuta, followed by an angle slam, a dive. Knees up by Daniel Garcia though. Pile driver by Garcia, and another sharpshooter. Wheeler Yuta makes it to the ropes, but there's no more rope breaks. So he struggles to get through the ropes and tie Garcia into them, which forces Garcia to use a rope break. Brilliant stuff. Back body drop on the apron, leg trap pile driver by Yuta. Covers, Garcia kicks out, hammer and anvil elbows, transitions into a matchbox cover, kicks out more, hammer and anvil elbows until the ref calls the bell because Garcia cannot continue. He can't protect himself. Wheeler Yuta wins. This ruled. Pro wrestling. This is what... The story, you know what? This is what I'm talking about. This is a blatant example. Stories are told in the ring. I don't give a shit about weeks of build and cutting promos on each other. The story in the match counts. And the story we got here was fantastic. It all made sense. Sports. And then, Ring of Honor World Tag Team title double dog collar match happened, occurred, graced our lives. And the Briscoes defeated FTR to become the new champions. I mean, this was phenomenal. This was excellent. This is excellent pro wrestling. And I'm not talking on the same level as what we just saw with Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia, because there's multiple ways to do pro wrestling. There's different styles. But this, in a match that's set up to make you feel shit, that's made that where you see people in a ring doing what they do absolutely best, telling a compelling in-ring story to drag you as if you yourself had a dog collar around your neck, to drag you right until this war of attrition finish where everyone looks like fucking Great Muta. They're bleeding so hard. In an effort, in a celebration of tag team wrestling, again, by these two teams who can do no wrong with each other. Just an excellent, top to bottom, pro wrestling match that makes you feel shit. That gets your heart racing. That makes you believe. Yes, it looks brutal and violent and hard because that's what they're going for. That's what they're delivering. I'm going to tell you. One of the best wrestling matches I've ever seen. One of the best dog collar matches I've ever seen. If not the best. If anything, Piper Valentine, we've got to put this up there with it. And Briscoes, FTR, one of the best series of wrestling matches in the history of pro wrestling. Omega, Okada, Flair Steamboat. You want to put that? We have to put that in the same boat. We have to. All within a year. A series of 3 extraordinary matches. And we're not even talking above average. We're talking matches that people are going to be talking about for years. And anyone, look, and you can sit around and you can poo-poo. And you can go, Max Hardwood, he's such a mark for himself. Who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares at this point when you sit down and you watch 4 guys completely leave everything in the ring? Everything. And who are creative, just as they are violent. Nothing's contrived. Everything feels organic and normal. You get what they're doing. You understand what they're doing. They're beating the shit out of each other in a match that has been billed as a violent match. And that's all you need. I will absolutely say, because I was talking about this with Sean Taggart in the Discord. Join the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord. Link is in the description. We were talking about this, and I was like, look, number 3 could never have existed without number 1. Like their first match that they had, it's, even as I'm saying this right here, I'm saying this is one of the greatest wrestling matches I've ever seen. I said the same thing with their first match, and I still maintain it. It's still one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. And this year, I have easily, and my list is not done, but I can easily put all 3 Briscoe FTR matches on my top 10 matches of the year list. And no one can argue with me. No one can say, they might just argue, well, this one seems a little low, Warren. That's all. I don't know what we're doing. And you look around and you look at the landscape of pro wrestling and you see what happens on Monday nights and Friday nights. You say, whoa, look at this. And then this happens. And then people want to pick this shit apart. People want to complain the Briscoes can't be on TV. It's like, who cares? Who the fuck cares? For the time that is allotted for this match right here, who cares? Because I promise you, in 15 years from now, when the younger kids, when the younger creators are coming up and they're revisiting this time in wrestling history, they're all going to be sitting around doing their podcasts or whatever, their neurocast or whatever it is we'll be doing, in 15 years from now. And they'll all be doing podcasts on the greatest series of wrestling matches in 2022. And they're all going to be sitting around talking about these 3 matches, and they're going to be breaking them down and talking about how genius it was and how everything makes sense and how they've been doing callbacks to each other. This, despite the fact that the Briscoes couldn't be on TV, despite the fact that FTR haven't been all that much on television, despite the fact that they didn't build a second to this match. So you can sit around and try to break this down and try to poo-poo on it and try to add all this fucking meta stuff into this match, and it doesn't change a single thing. It doesn't change the fact that we bore witness to one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time. One of the most violent, one of the absolute best dog collar matches, one of the absolute best tag team matches of all time. And the 3rd installment in a series that has been nothing but gold, nothing but 5-star gold the entire way. I don't even know if I don't have to break this down. Because that's my analysis. This is what I'm taking away from this match. The way that the chains were used in this match throughout was just perfect. There were weapons, they were violent, Cash yanks Mark Briscoe off the top rope to the floor. Everyone's bleeding. The ref is bleeding. Mike Posey does a blade job. He's got to be escorted out. Then finish comes when Jay Briscoe, who's been tied up with Dax, gets behind him on the mat, wraps the chain around Dax's mouth and starts yanking back. Cash tries to come in to save his partner. He's on the floor, but Mark Briscoe's holding him off. And they do just a subtle, without going overboard, just a subtle throwback to their DIY match. But he can't make it. Cash can't make it. Dax has to tap. Ass boys come in after. And I don't care what happened after. I don't know what happened. Dax cuts a promo, flat on his stomach. Flat. And he's still bleeding and he's talking to a microphone. Top guy's out. FTR and the Briscoes show some respect. Of course they show some fucking respect. Greatest. There's not a tag. There is not a singular tag team in North America. There are no two tag teams in North America this year who have wrestled each other on such a level so consistently, growing every time, getting better every time, and climaxing to this. That's storytelling. That is sports-based storytelling. This all makes sense. This is pro wrestling. Don't need weeks or months of build. You understand, the build happened by itself because of the other matches. It's brilliant stuff from top to bottom. This is why I love pro wrestling. And after that, Samoa Joe defeated Juice Robinson to retain the Ring of Honor World Television title. You know when I was telling you that the matches were perfectly spaced out? They were all at the right spot, at the right moment. There you go. Like probably the most what the fuck match of the night happened. It happened after the Briscoes. But then again, the crowd was still into this. Crowd didn't exhaust themselves on the other match. This was great. I thought this match was fine. They trade jabs at each other. Back body drop by Juice Robinson. Senton goes for a senton, but he falls right into a Coquina clutch attempt. It spills to the floor. Joe removes the floor padding. Juice Robinson hits a cannonball senton into the railing. Samoa Joe does the sit down Uranagi up in the corner in the ring and dives to the floor. Does the Ole kick, which I'm glad he's bringing back. They trade jabs. Manhattan drop by Samoa Joe. Senton. Spinebuster by Juice Robinson. Jabs. Chops. Cannonball in the corner. Flying crossbody. Juice avoids a muscle buster. Sidekick by Juice. Whiffs. And I mean whiffs. But Joe lands the muscle buster for the win. That was all right. It was absolutely meant to be a cool down. I still, I don't know what the deal is with Juice Robinson. I don't know. Good for him if he's, getting work and good for him. I don't know. And then the main event, Claudio Castagnoli defeated Chris Jericho to become once again Ring of Honor World Champion. And Claudio in this match does not fuck around. Goes to the floor, he starts tossing Jericho around, high cross body, hammer and anvil, and hits the neutralizer, but Jericho kicks out. Gorilla press by Castagnoli. He wipes out completely on a running senton off the apron. Jericho fights back but eats a pop-up uppercut. He forearms Castagnoli in the corner. Jericho with a tremendous avalanche hurricane rana on top of that. Jericho avoids a big swing by dumping Castagnoli to the floor. Suplex off the apron by Jericho. Jericho eventually gets the walls locked in, and 2.0 arrive with Floyd. They bring Floyd to the ring. Jericho uses it on Claudio while the ref is distracted, but Claudio kicks out of the pin attempt. 2.0 get expelled. That allows Jericho to land a code breaker. Goes for a Judas effect, but Claudio ducks and gets a big swing going, a 30-plus rotation, of which Jericho taps out in, much to the dismay of fans everywhere. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you tap out in a big swing? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you tap out in a big swing? Why is this such a big... You just spent fucking 16 minutes getting the shit beat out of you. And you're going to tell me that... Here, let me put it to you this way. Let's say you're telling me you get into a 16-minute fight with someone at the fair, then you jump in the teacups and you'd be okay. You'd be like, yeah, this fucking rules. You'd be begging the carny to stop the fucking ride so that you could get out. What are we even doing here? I thought this was fine. I don't know what the big deal was. If anything, it's like, oh, Claudio can end a match with this. It's not just for shits and it's not just because it makes Vince McMahon laugh that he's doing this. Oh, okay, that's interesting. That was Ring of Honor Final Battle, a show which I really liked. I thought it was well paced. Had enough of everything for everyone. Classic match on top of that. What more do you want out of your pay-per-view? I thought this was a very, very strong offering. And now, I'm going to review another pay-per-view that happened. A premium live event that occurred this weekend. NXT Deadline, which again happened on December 10. From the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. I'm straight off the bat. This is one of my favorite WWE shows that I had the pleasure of watching this year. I thought this was quite strong, actually. And outside of a couple of things, of course, but I thought this was a good show. And probably my favorite NXT show in a long time as well. There's a lot to like on this show. I'm going to start with the WWE NXT Women's Title #1 Contendership Iron Survivor Challenge match. This is the new thing, right? This is the new gimmick where everyone comes in every 5 minutes or so, right? Something like that. And every time someone scores a pin or a submission or gets DQ'd, anyway, every time that happens, every time they score a pin, they get sent to you get a point, and the person that you pin or submit gets sent to a penalty box where you sit there for like 90 seconds. And honestly, I didn't know what to expect, and I was ready to make fun of this. But honestly, as far as a new match type goes for WWE, this is solid. But the women's match happened. Started off with Roxanne Perez and Zoe Stark to begin with. Apparently, Zoe Stark. Look, I don't watch the NXT week to week because I'm a casual WWE viewer. I'm exactly the type of viewer they want. So there's some things that I was like, okay, this is the thing. Like Zoe Stark being a heel. I didn't realize that she was a heel. But this one starts very slow, a big nothing burger until Kiana James comes in, and she's the porn secretary, right, or whatever it is her gimmick is, or whatever the gimmick that people are attributing to her, right? Anyway, she comes in, they start trading kicks and all sorts of strikes. Then it slowly starts to pick up, and Zoe Starks no S at the end, gets the first point on Roxanne Perez. Cora Jade then comes in next. Cora Jade scores the next pin on Kiana James, and they're doing submissions on each other while Kiana James is in the box. So there's a bit of a three line of submissions going on. And then, there's a whole circumstance where it's like everyone is trying to roll up, to pin each other. They're just like hitting an elbow and then a pin, and they're doing this strike and a pin. And I'm like, man, okay, this is getting a little long in the tooth, though. Indy Hartwell gets in last. She gets a pin on Roxanne Perez. Kiana James moonsaults off the barricade, which was pretty cool. Roxanne Perez finally gets a pin on Zoe Stark. Indy suplexes Cora Jade to the floor. Roxanne Perez launches Kiana James into the post. Stark starts cleaning house. Perez dives on Hartwell. And then Cora Jade sentons off the apron. Zoe Stark does a huge dive off the turnbuckle, so everyone's diving. Then we get back into the ring, and everyone is hitting their finishers. And Roxanne Perez lands a code red on Cora Jade for another point. Roxanne and Indy tumble to the floor. Kiara James hits a top rope Spanish fly on Zoe Stark, but the time hits. We're done, and Roxanne Perez wins the match with 2 points. So, I mean, I think a lot of people really liked this match. I thought it was okay. I think as the match progressed, the work got faster, but there was something about this match that didn't feel, and I don't know how to put it other than organic. Like, the moves weren't flowing really into each other, and I felt there was a lot of, like, you could feel the set pieces, if that makes sense. You could be, oh, we're doing this now. Oh, we're doing this now. Like, you could touch the match structure. It wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad match, but I definitely didn't like it as much as other people did. I think, you know what? I think Zoe Stark is fantastic. I think Indy Hartwell is overlooked right now by some others in this match here. I think she's miles above. Kiana James, I think a lot of people talk about her because of her gimmicks or her backstage stuff and whatever, because I thought, she did a couple of high flying moves where I was like, oh, this shit rules, but again, not bad, definitely not bad, but I absolutely didn't love it as much as most people did. I thought this was a solid 3.3 3.25, maybe 3.25. Solid stuff, but it felt a little disjointed, not organic. I want to say hello to the Coog 97. Nice to see you, and welcome. Next, we had a singles match. Isla Dawn defeated Alba Fire, who apparently they don't like each other, because Alba Fire was about to beat Mandy Rose, and Isla Dawn appeared because she's a witch. She's a witch! And cost Alba Fire the match because she's a witch! I like this match. I liked it a lot until... No, but for real, this match goes strong early, right? And I still have trouble calling her Alba Fire because to me she will always be Kaylee Ray. She will, the female Sabu. She's just nuts. But she goes strong here, driving Isla Dawn to the floor, locking in an early submission. Actually, Isla Dawn locks in an early submission that Alba Fire has to muscle out of. Isla Dawn removes a turnbuckle pad, strikes Alba Fire with knees and kicks, lands a Meteora. Alba Fire does the walk-up Senton Atomico to the floor, which is a trademark Kaylee Ray move, which I adored. Flapjack by Alba Fire and some kicks. Tornado DDT follows. Saito suplex by Isla Dawn. Tope suicida by Fire. Gory bomb on the floor. Fireman's carry slam by Alba Fire on Isla Dawn. And Alba Fire goes for the Swanton bomb. But the referee is puking. He's puking shit. And I'm like, what in the green hell is happening? And apparently, as commentary told us, well, Isla Dawn touched his leg, and now he's coughing up this goo. He's puking shit. This is what he's doing. And everything was going great in this match until this fucking bullshit, of course, because she's a witch. Isla Dawn slams Alba Fire's face into the turnbuckle, and she ends the match with a slop drop. Gets the win. Isla Dawn with. I was so disappointed because we had, up until that point, I was so into this match. I was both fists clenched. And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, ladies. This match rules. And I'm seeing Kaylee Ray doing all this great shit that she used to do. And I'm enjoying it. Isla Dawn holding her own. It's all good. It's all good. And then we have to have, and then WWE gets into its own fucking way. It's not as if it's not capable of just letting people wrestle. No, it's like, we have to tell a story. Oh, you see, Warren, this advances the character. It advances shit. There's a referee that was puking in this match. A match that I was into. Why did you have to interrupt the rhythm, the beat of this match for a referee puking? This is dumb. Dumb. And you know what? I didn't talk about it much because I just wanted to get, but you know all these fucking promos that it feels like, all of these characters do. The minute they're not like bikini babes, right? The minute that they're not booked as being voluptuous or, cute, all of these promos, then it's like, I summon the spirits of my Scottish ancestors. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. It's so corny. And no one talks like that. And it doesn't get me more invested. Alba Fire comes out of smoke. Who cares? It's a good match. I enjoyed the match up until the wizardry. Up until it's like, oh, suddenly it's Slytherin versus fucking Ravenclaw. Up until that point, I'm okay. I'm enjoying myself. I'm having a good time. Then I'm like, oh, well, someone's gonna get sent to Dumbledore's office. NXT Tag Team titles were also on the line, where the New Day defeated Pretty Deadly in a really fun tag team match. This was a lot of fun. And I thought this was an extremely good pairing between two teams who can manage that very, very delicate balance of doing comedy and putting on a good match. And this is what we got. I mean, look, even despite the fact that there was a torque off in this match, I enjoyed it. Like, there was nothing in here that made me want to claw my eyes out. This was all good and it all made sense because we know these teams. And again, we didn't have to have weeks of build to this because we know who these teams are. We understand these teams. Kofi does a huge dive. He's also babyface in peril for this match here. And there's this really fun spot where Pretty Deadly sneak in the belts and they clock Xavier Woods with one of the belts, and then they toss the belts to Kofi Kingston, excuse me. They toss the belt to Kofi Kingston, and then Pretty Deadly fall on their backs. Kofi Kingston's there with the belt in his hand, and he's like, screw this, and he tosses it in the middle, and he falls on his back. So when they were trying to do a little Eddie Guerrero magic, so when the ref turns around, everyone's flat on their backs, and the ref is like, what the fuck is going on here? That was fun. Hassan Terrell, nice to see you. Happy holidays to you as well. The New Day win with the coup de grace over the knee combo, and now they're triple crown tag team champions, and good for them. And you know what? Look, the New Day haven't done anything in NXT right now, so I think this is fresh. I think they fit into this environment. Instead of having them do nothing up on main, why not this? This feels fresh. This feels good. Nothing but fresh matches for the New Day during their tenure in NXT now. Otherwise, they'd be, back to wrestling the Street Profits again? Another match against the Usos? We know how thin it is up there, and the New Day have been around the block several times. I think this is a great fit, especially, Big E hasn't been cleared yet. You want to keep Big E's return with the New Day on main roster. You want to do it that way, right? So if they're waiting for Big E to come back and have like a big hurrah return, a big crowd pleasing return, you do that on main. But in the meantime, I think this is a perfect use for them. It's not as if they're doing anything of significance on the main roster, that they were doing anything of significance, as it stands right now. Let the other tag teams go after each other for a while. And you see, they come in here with Pretty Deadly and they have a kick-ass match. This ruled. It was fun. I enjoyed it. And then the match of the night. NXT title #1 contendership men's Iron Survivor Challenge match. Grayson Waller, Axiom, Carmelo Hayes, JD McDonough, Joe Gacy. Fantastic match. And everything that I had problems with the women's match was completely erased here. The guys absolutely murdered it. They got me into it. They made me understand the value of this match, of the Iron Survivor Challenge match. Great stuff. Everything made sense. Great heat spot. Look, the match starts. It's JD McDonough and Axiom. God, I hate their names. I'm sorry, I hate their names. A-Kid and Jordan Devlin. JD McDonough. Axiom. And look, I had not seen this before. And I had never seen Axiom's entrance. And then they do this blur shit where they up the frame rate and now he's moving really fast. And I was like, oh Christ, this is corny as fuck. And I had not seen that yet. This was a complete surprise to me, and I was like, Jesus, this stinks. Anyway. But this rule. Axiom does a huge dive. He almost overshoots McDonough to start this off, and JD McDonough does a splash with a drop kick and a Liger bomb. Hesitation drop kick by Axiom. And then Carmelo Hayes comes in. Axiom sends both guys to the floor. Gets back into the ring. Stereo super kicks on Carmelo Hayes. McDonough hits a Uranagi using Carmelo Hayes on top of Axiom. Good little sequence there. Some great back and forth. And then, as much as things were starting to heat up, you have Grayson Waller run in. Like, he doesn't do any poses or whatever. He just darts for the ring, slides in, double bulldogs Axiom and McDonough, covers Axiom, gets a fall, covers McDonough, gets a fall. He's in the lead. And everyone is like, boo, and up on it. And I'm like, fuck yeah, this rules. There you go. And this guy's the heel. Fantastic. Let's fucking go. So now everyone's like in panic mode because the shit heel, the guy that everyone hates, came in and just did this fucking shit. I loved it. Grayson Waller hits a stunner on the apron. Axiom fights McDonough in the penalty box, which was great. Like, I was like, of course, because they both went in at the same time in the penalty box because Waller got the pin on both, like within 4 seconds. So of course they're both in the penalty box at the same time, and they fight each other there because, fuck yes, because it's a fight. You want to win. Waller he dumps Carmelo Hayes on commentary, calls Booker T a bitch, and I'm like, wait, is Grayson Waller the baby face here? But back in the ring, he gets rolled up by Axiom for a pin. Axiom hits a destroyer on McDonough. Golden ratio as well. In comes Joe Gacy, so the field is full here. He gets Axiom to tap in a submission, so he gets a point. Now McDonough and Axiom fight in the penalty box again. Back in the ring, Joe Gacy drops Carmelo Hayes with a lariat. Tope con hilo by Joe Gacy, who smooshes. Like, the way he lands on McDonough, he literally like smooshes him. Axiom moonsaults off the penalty box, which was great. Carmelo Hayes gets Grayson Waller to tap. Everyone at this point has 2 points except for JD McDonough, who is still at goose egg. He's got 0. Short arm backdrop suplex by McDonough off the apron to Axiom, which ruled. McDonough eats quad super kicks by everyone. Joe Gacy tries to get people to tap. He's going in from submission to submission. He can't get it done. There's 1 minute left. Alabama Jam by Carmelo Hayes covers, but Grayson Waller pulls Hayes off of the cover, slides in, gets the pin. He gets 3 points. What does he do? Because Carmelo Hayes is pissed at him. What does he do? Stand around in the ring and wait for him to fight? No, he runs. He runs. And JD McDonough's in the ring and he's half like, he's stunned. But he sees Carmelo coming in. So what does he do? He pushes McDonough out of the ring so that Carmelo Hayes doesn't get an easy pinfall. Carmelo Hayes is incensed. They run around the ring. Axiom is like dead somewhere. Joe Gacy he's like, oh, I can't do anything. Time runs out. Grayson Waller wins in the best fucking heel way possible. I loved this. I loved every second of it. I thought this was great. This is one of WWE's best matches of the year. This shit ruled. And as a look, Grayson Waller is the guy, and well, we're going to talk about it in a second here, but he's the guy. He's the guy. I know he irritates a lot of people who watch the weekly show for reasons, I guess, but I look at this guy wrestle and I'm like, what is he even doing in NXT? What's this guy doing in NXT? The developmental brand. There's nothing to develop out of this guy. This guy's ready. This guy is a superstar. Get this guy out of here. Same thing with Carmelo Hayes. Like, what's the deal with Carmelo Hayes now? What's left for him to do? He's been knocked out of the world title picture. He's been knocked out of the North American title picture. Well, you know what to do. We're good. We're good with him in NXT. This shit rules. This was a very good wrestling match, and this sold me on the idea of the Iron Survivor. I'm excited for the next one. And to wrap it all up, the NXT World Title, or the NXT title match. There's no world. Cut that shit out. NXT title match. Braun Breaker successfully retained his title against Apollo Crews. Test of strength to start this one off. Headlock, leg scissors, headlock, leg scissors, headlock, leg scissors. I don't know if they were trying to be cute or something. I don't know. Didn't quite work for me. Slingshot, senton by Apollo Crews, stalling suplex by Braun Breaker, which surprisingly got very, very mid reactions from the crowd for such an easy spot to get a good crowd reaction from usually. Tope con hilo by Braun Breaker. Stuff happens, there's a frog splash, and then they start slugging it out, which lights up the crowd and your boy Warren Hayes at the same time, because I was not interested in anything that was happening here. It all comes to a halt with the spear. Braun wins. I think this match suffered for me and for the audience as well, because I think it was very hard to come back after the Iron Survivor match. The men's Iron Survivor match ruled, and the audience was into it, and I was into it. And then you had proof that the audience had been taken out of this match because a stalling vertical suplex got no reaction. Usually, like I said, it's an easy reaction spot. People go, woo, look how strong he is. Nothing. And then on top of that, Braun Breaker and Apollo Crews, maybe not the strongest candidates to wrap up a show, again, after a match which was designed to steal the show. Does that make sense? Apollo Crews, God bless him, but main roster booking ruined the guy for me. I cannot get into anything I cannot get into anything he does anymore. They yanked him around and did, start stop so many times with his pushes and his booking. I've become completely indifferent to Apollo Crews, which sucks because he still is a very talented pro wrestler, but he has nothing to offer me because WWE time and time again has proven to me that there is no reason for me to get behind an Apollo Crews push. No reason. And if this was a push, Apollo Crews as NXT champion contender, nope, don't believe it. I didn't believe it from the start. It's like, he's being fed to Braun. And Braun, I talked about it at the Halloween Havoc review that I did way back when. He has no connection with the crowd. There's no connection. And they have been pushing him as this, to let's not mince words, as a Brock Lesnar type that's just steamrolling the competition, but the audience is not into him. He may have the look and the, a very pro wrestler attitude, but there is something that happens in the ring that this guy is unable to connect with the audience. And everything just falls flat. And I think this is a question of experience more than anything else. Of course, people are going to say, but Warren, it's developmental. Yeah, okay. That's fine. Let him develop. But right now, this guy was pushed for the better part of a year at this point, right? As the NXT champion. Let me just get a quick look here. 254 days. He won this in April. Like, this is a 250-day run here that we're doing with him, where he's defeated Dolph Ziggler, Gunther, Joe Gacy, JD McDonough, Cameron Grimes, Tyler Bate, Ilya Dragunov, Von Wagner. But, they're throwing the big guns at him, and he's supposed to be here defeating everyone. But it's not translating into the audience or into ratings. And this is the thing that's fascinating, is what has Braun Breaker brought to the business side of NXT? Is he selling merch like crazy? I don't know. I didn't see many break everyone t-shirts in the audience. He definitely hasn't been cruising the ratings bumps when he wrestles. We have no idea how PLEs perform for WWE, so we don't know. You have to turn to your champion, then you turn to your top guy, and if your top guy is not returning results, if your top guy is not connecting with the audience, yank the belt off of him. But now that's what they wanted to do here. So after the match, Grayson Waller attacks him, of course, because he's number one contender. Grayson has to be the guy, because Grayson Waller has everything that I think Shawn Michaels would like Braun Breaker to have, but doesn't. He's got the experience. He's got the charisma. He's got the mic skills. He's got all of the elements that I think the NXT people would love Braun to have, but he doesn't. It's a fucking shame. And again, not shitting on the kid. He's just starting off. He's wrestled 56 matches in his career. He's just coming out of his rookie year with the company. Not a big deal. But as a champion, he was pushed too soon. This was not a good title run for him. I enjoyed the match that they had at Halloween Havoc, but he was guided by two highly experienced vets in JD McDonough and Ilya Dragunov. So, of course, they're going to get the absolute best out of him. Now he's wrestling Apollo Crews, who is mid. So you have a mid wrestler wrestling a mid wrestler. You get a mid main event. That's probably brought down a little more into the midness, because they have to follow an excellent match that just happened beforehand, one of WWE's best matches of the year. They have to follow that. I mean, if I had done this, I would have put the main event before. I would have put the NXT title match, before the men's Iron Survivor match. Main event with the Iron Survivor match. That shit ruled. But as it stands, this pay-per-view, to me, I enjoyed it. As I told you, not perfect, but I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed it enough to be like, yeah, you know what? Y'all should watch this match. I thought this was if you compare it to a sandwich, where the bread is the first match and the last match, I think everything in the middle of the sandwich made this sandwich come together. I think the bread was, maybe not quite as moist or fresh. I wouldn't say stale, but it lacked a little oomph. And that's the weekly wrestling inspection. That's right. We're done. We're done for the week. Well, for today, for this edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, which I am thrilled to have been able to share with you. Went a little long today, but there was a lot of stuff to cover. There was a lot of stuff to cover, and I'm glad we did. And I hope you guys and gals and non-binary pals enjoyed it as well. I will be back this Thursday for another AEW Dynamite review. So be sure to, if you haven't already, subscribe and follow on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes or on your favorite podcast application, because you don't want to miss that out. And then I'll also be back on Friday for the members only Going Broadway show. And we're going to keep having a good time. Just good times all around. And I hope you enjoyed it tonight. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around. If you haven't already, give the video a like just before you leave. Otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of your week. And I will see you next time.